Close your eyes and imagine this. It's the early morning of April 10th, 1912. You're standing on the docks of Southampton. The salty air is cool. There's a soft breeze off the water. And before you towers something unbelievable. A ship so massive, so beautiful, that it doesn't seem real. The RMS Titanic. The unsinkable ship. A floating city. A modern miracle. You're about to board her. You think it's the start of a journey, but it's actually the most dangerous day of your life. A day you probably wouldn't survive. In this video, we'll take you through what a single day aboard the Titanic really felt like. Not the grand movie version, the real version, the quiet routines, the overlooked warnings, the slow collapse of calm into chaos. You'll hear stories you probably haven't heard before, about passengers no one talks about small mistakes that sealed fates, about the slow build-up to disaster, hour by hour, and we'll ask the question, would you have survived if you had been there? This isn't a fast-paced documentary. This is a slow drift through time, designed to relax your mind, help you sleep, and take you back to a night the world never forgot. You'll learn what it was like to eat in first class and sleep in third class. You'll walk the decks, hear the soft hum of the engines beneath your feet, and finally, feel the cold silence when everything changed. By the end of this journey, you'll understand more than just facts. You'll feel what it meant to be aboard the Titanic, when time slowed down, when choices mattered, when survival was about more than luck. Stay with us. Let the story unfold slowly. Let the ocean carry your thoughts. And if your eyes grow heavy, that's okay. History can wait, but it never sleeps. Welcome to Boring History for Sleep, where the past speaks softly and sometimes never lets go. If you enjoy calm storytelling, deep history, and long-form content that helps you relax, consider subscribing to our channel. We make new videos just like this one, slow, rich, and sleep-friendly every week. Now take a breath, step aboard. Let's find out why you wouldn't survive a single day on the Titan, the floating palace. Imagine stepping deeper inside the Titanic. It's no longer just a ship, it's a floating palace. The year is 1912, and this ship is the largest moving object ever built by humans. A marvel of its time, designed to impress, comfort, and carry its passengers across the Atlantic in unmatched style. As you walk through its halls, you notice the grandness around you. The ship is more than metal and wood. It's a world on water. The first thing that catches your eye is the grand staircase, made of polished oak and wrought iron. It spirals up several decks. Its steps gleam softly under the glow of brass lamps. This staircase isn't just for moving between floors. It's a place to be seen, a place where the rich and famous show their elegance. The intricate carvings and detailed railings feel almost like art, inviting you to slow your pace and admire the craftsmanship. Nearby, the dining rooms wait quietly. They are huge, filled with long tables, dressed in crisp, white linens. Delicate china plates and sparkling crystal glasses sit ready. The walls are decorated with elegant wood paneling, and soft gas lamps cast a warm light. Imagine the clinking of silverware and quiet conversation during a formal dinner. Guests dressed in their finest, savoring rich dishes prepared by expert chefs. This is a world far removed from everyday life. The first-class dining saloon is the pride of the Titanic. It is so large that it could easily fit a small town hall. With its high ceilings and large windows, the room feels bright and open, almost like a ballroom. The space is filled with polished wood, painted ceilings, and ornate columns. It smells faintly of fresh flowers and fine wine. The room is designed to impress, to create a feeling of grandeur and comfort. As you wander through the ship, you find the suites. The first-class cabins are more like hotel rooms than typical ship cabins. Rich mahogany furniture, heavy velvet curtains, and soft carpets make them feel warm and inviting. Some suites even have their own private promenade decks. From here, passengers could watch the ocean roll by, wrapped in cozy blankets, sipping tea. The beds are wide and soft, the linens crisp and clean. In contrast, the second-class accommodations are simpler, but still comfortable. Painted wood walls, small but tidy rooms, with shared bathrooms down the hall. The rooms are quiet, away from the hustle of the public spaces. Passengers here have enough space to rest, with simple furniture and practical design. Below, the third class, or steerage, quarters are modest but clean. Rows of narrow bunks line the rooms, with little privacy but a sense of community. Families gather in small groups, sharing stories and dreams of a new life in America. It's a different world from the luxury decks above, but still a place filled with hope and warmth. Despite the vast differences, all parts of the Titanic share a certain calm. The ship's engineers designed her to be smooth and stable, even in rough seas. As you walk the decks, you feel a gentle rocking, like a cradle, rocking a child to sleep. The sounds are muted, soft footsteps on thick carpets, low hum of the engines deep below, and the whisper of the ocean outside. The Titanic's many amenities add to the sense of luxury. There are reading and writing rooms, where passengers could relax with books or write letters home. Smoking rooms, exclusively for men, offer a quiet place to unwind. The ship even has its own gymnasium, with exercise machines powered by electric motors, something rare and exciting at the time. The ship's design reflects the pride of an era that believed technology and progress could conquer nature. The Titanic seems invincible, a floating city built to withstand the Atlantic's fiercest storms. Everywhere you look, there is fine craftsmanship and attention to detail. From the gleaming brass fixtures to the hand-painted tiles in the bathrooms, no expense was spared. Yet, beneath the beauty and comfort lies an illusion. The Titanic's luxury creates a bubble of safety and wealth. Passengers believe they are in a world apart, protected by steel and steam. The ship's immense size makes it hard to imagine that anything could threaten this floating palace. Walking through the grand spaces, it's easy to forget that the ocean is vast and unforgiving. The Titanic is a small island of comfort surrounded by cold, endless water. The illusion of safety is strong, but fragile. Today, we might compare the Titanic's opulence to a luxury hotel or cruise ship. But in 1912, this was a new kind of experience. Traveling by sea was common, but few ships were built with such grandeur. The Titanic was a statement, a symbol of human achievement and hope for a better future. As you stand on the deck, Looking out over the dark water, you can almost hear the distant whistle of the ship's horn. It echoes across the harbor, a call to adventure and discovery. But as calm as the night seems, there is a quiet tension under the surface. Something unseen is moving through the water, waiting for its moment. For now, the ship sails on, proud and steady. But the grandeur, the beauty, the floating palace, it is only the beginning of a story far more complicated than anyone aboard could imagine. A day in first class. Imagine waking slowly in a spacious cabin, sunlight filtering through heavy velvet curtains. The soft scent of fresh linens fills the air. Outside, the gentle sway of the Titanic is almost imperceptible, like a lullaby rocking you awake. Your morning begins with breakfast in bed. A small table is wheeled in, carrying a tray of delicate china. There's a pot of steaming tea, fresh bread rolls, butter, and preserves. Perhaps soft boiled eggs or smoked salmon with cream cheese. The room is quiet, except for the occasional clink of porcelain and the faint hum of the ship's engines below. Dressed in light morning clothes, you step into your slippers and head out. The hallway is carpeted thick and soft beneath your feet. The walls are paneled with polished wood, and the gentle murmur of other first-class passengers moves quietly through the corridors. Your first stop is the lounge, a calm, elegant space with comfortable chairs and tall windows. Light filters softly through stained glass, casting colorful patterns on the floor. The air smells faintly of fresh flowers and old leather-bound books. Passengers sit reading newspapers or quietly chatting. Some write letters at the writing desks, their pens scratching softly on paper. You pick up a novel, or perhaps a daily newspaper, and settle into a plush armchair near the window. Outside, the ocean stretches endlessly, calm and vast. The ship's slow progress is barely noticeable, but the promise of new lands ahead fills the air. Later, you stroll out onto the promenade deck. The sun is warm, but not harsh, the breeze carrying a salty tang. Around you, passengers walk slowly, some alone in thoughtful silence, others sharing soft conversations. The white railings gleam under the light, and the polished wooden deck creaks gently beneath your feet. Perhaps you visit the smoking room, a haven for the gentlemen aboard. Here, dark leather chairs circle a polished table. The room smells of rich tobacco and wood polish. Men relax with cigars, quietly exchanging stories or reading the latest news. Lunch is served in the dining saloon, an experience both refined and unhurried. The room is vast, with high ceilings decorated in ornate plasterwork. Light pours in through large windows, illuminating the polished wood and crystal chandeliers. The table is set with gleaming silverware and fine china. The meal is a multi-course affair. Fresh oysters might begin the menu, followed by consommé or a delicate fish dish. The main course could be roast beef or lamb, served with seasonal vegetables. A light dessert, such as fruit tart or ice cream, rounds out the meal. Throughout, attentive stewards move quietly, refilling glasses and attending to guests' needs without intrusion. After lunch, the afternoon passes in leisurely activities. Some passengers gather in the reading room, exchanging books and quiet conversation. Others retire to their cabins for a brief rest. or to prepare for the evening ahead, the ship's pianist plays softly in the lounge, the music a soothing backdrop to relaxed conversations. The sound of the piano mingles with the distant murmur of the engines, creating a calm, steady rhythm. As evening approaches, the atmosphere aboard the Titanic shifts subtly. Passengers begin to dress in their finest clothes. Ladies don elegant gowns and delicate jewelry. Gentlemen wear tuxedos, their collars starched and neat. Dinner is a grand event. The dining saloon is transformed by the glow of hundreds of electric lights, their soft illumination warm and inviting. The tables are decorated with fresh flowers and fine linen. Live music fills the room, a string quartet playing classical melodies that flow gently through the airs. The sound is delicate, comforting. It blends with the low murmur of conversation and the occasional clink of glasses. The menu is luxurious. First, a selection of hors d'oeuvres, smoked salmon, caviar, and pâté. Then a rich soup, perhaps turtle or cream of asparagus. The main course might be filet mignon or duckling, followed by a cheese course and an array of desserts. Fresh fruit and fine wines complete the meal. Throughout the evening, the atmosphere is one of calm celebration. Passengers savor the food, the music, and the company. The outside world feels distant, replaced by the gentle luxury of the Titanic's first-class deck. After dinner, some guests move to the lounge or promenade deck. The night air is cooler now, carrying the soft scent of the sea. Lights twinkle across the ship, casting gentle reflections on the water below. Conversations turn quieter, more reflective. Some passengers write letters by lamplight. Others simply gaze at the stars. The slow rocking of the ship and the distant sound of the engines create a peaceful rhythm. As the night deepens, you retreat to your cabin. The bed is soft and inviting. The linens cool against your skin. The ship's gentle sway continues, a quiet lullaby as you close your eyes. In this floating palace, the day passes in calm comfort, rich with small pleasures and quiet moments. Outside, the Atlantic stretches on endlessly, carrying you toward a future unknown. A day in third class. Now, let your mind drift below the grand decks of the Titanic, far from the glittering lights and polished wood of first class. Below, the world feels different, quieter, humbler, but no less alive. You step down narrow stairways, the air growing cooler, heavier with the scent of oil, coal dust, and damp wood. The hum of the engines is louder here, a constant mechanical heartbeat beneath your feet. Pipes rattle gently in the walls. The ship feels less like a palace now, and more like a working vessel. This is third class, often called steerage, where many of the passengers are immigrants, men, women, and children, hoping for a fresh start no pas, new land. The rooms are smaller, the ceilings lower, and the light more limited. Yet, despite the cramped quarters, there is warmth here, a sense of community that spreads quietly through shared spaces and whispered conversations. The cabins themselves are simple. Rows of narrow wooden bunks line the walls, stacked 2 or 3 high. Rough wool blankets cover the beds. Families sleep close together, sharing space and stories. The walls are plain, painted in muted colors, with little decoration. Privacy is scarce, but there is a certain comfort in being close to loved ones. In the early morning, you might hear the soft murmur of voices as families wake. Children rub sleep from their eyes. Mothers prepare for the day, quietly moving about in tight spaces. Fathers check on their belongings or step out into the narrow corridors, stretching their legs before the day begins. Meals in third class are simple but hearty. The dining hall is a large room filled with long wooden tables and benches. Here, strangers become companions over shared food and stories. The smell of fresh bread and stew drifts through the air. Plates are passed down the tables, filled with thick soup or stewed meat, vegetables, and potatoes. The atmosphere is warm, with laughter sometimes breaking through the quiet. Despite the hardships of the journey, there is a feeling of hope, a belief that the struggles of today will lead to a better tomorrow. Conversations are often about the future, the new homes, jobs, and lives waiting across the ocean. In the corridors, children play quietly with makeshift toys. Elders sit together, telling stories of their homelands, traditions carried with them like precious treasures. Languages from across Europe mingle softly in the air. Italian, Irish, Swedish, Polish, and more. The daily routine below deck is steady. Many passengers spend time preparing for the journey ahead, repairing worn clothes, mending shoes, or cleaning their small spaces. Some write letters to loved ones left behind, their words filled with longing and promise. In the afternoons, small groups gather in common areas. Music might drift from a fiddle or accordion, played by one of the passengers. Soft singing rises, a haunting reminder of home and heritage. It is a simple joy amid the confined spaces and endless ocean. Even in these modest surroundings, there are moments of quiet pride. A woman carefully arranges a small bouquet of wildflowers picked from the docks before boarding. A father teaches his son to tie a proper knot. A grandmother gently rocks a baby to sleep. The contrast between this world and the one above deck is striking. While first-class passengers enjoy fine dining and elegant rooms, third-class life is practical and shared, yet neither world is free from dreams or fears. At night, the cabins fill with soft whispers and the rustle of blankets. The ship creaks and groans around you, a reminder that beneath the grandeur, the Titanic is still a ship crossing a vast and sometimes unforgiving ocean. Families huddle close, finding comfort in each other's presence. Stories of past hardships and future hopes mingle in the quiet dark. Outside, the sea is a deep, endless black, stretching far beyond the small lights of the ship. Despite the challenges, there is a quiet resilience here, a belief that whatever lies ahead, they will face it together. The journey may be long, but it is a step towards something new. In third class, life is slower, simpler, but filled with a powerful sense of purpose. It is a world built on hope, family, and the courage to dream. Ice in the night. As night falls on the Titanic, the world outside grows colder and quieter. The air turns crisp and sharp, carrying the scent of the icy Atlantic. It's a clear night, with stars scattered like tiny diamonds overhead, twinkling silently against the deep black sky. The ocean lies calm and still, almost glass-like in its smoothness. The waves lap softly against the hull, a gentle rhythm that soothes rather than alarms. The ship cuts steadily through the water, its great engines humming deep below decks, a constant, reassuring sound. On deck, the cool night air brushes against faces wrapped in warm coats and scarves. Passengers move slowly, some leaning on railings, staring out at the endless sea. The cold bites gently at their cheeks, but the calm water and peaceful sky seem to promise a quiet night. Below decks, the crew carries out their duties with quiet efficiency. There's soft chatter in the corridors, few voices speaking in low tones, discussing schedules or the routine tasks that keep the ship running smoothly. The flicker of gas lamps casts dancing shadows on the polished walls. Out on the bridge, officers stand watch under the soft glow of lanterns. Their eyes scan the horizon, alert but relaxed. Ice warnings have arrived earlier in the day. Messages passed from other ships and wireless operators. Some notes mention ice fields and small icebergs ahead. But the night is vast, and the ocean is immense. The warnings are reminders, but no one truly knows what lies just beyond the reach of the ship's bright lights. Back in the passenger areas, the hum of the engines blends with softer sounds. The rustling of pages as someone reads, the gentle creak of wood settling as the ship moves. It is a world wrapped in quiet, routine, and calm. As the hours pass, the air grows colder still. The temperature dips closer to freezing. Breath hangs in the air as soft puffs of mist. Outside, the sea begins to shimmer under the moonlight, tiny ice crystals sparkling on the water's surface. Crew members make their rounds, checking lights and equipment. They speak briefly to one another, exchanging information about the weather and the ship's progress. The conversations are practical, focused on keeping the voyage smooth. On deck, some passengers wander quietly, unawares of the danger that waits in the darkness. They talk softly or gaze up at the stars, feeling small beneath the vast sky. No alarms sound, no urgent warnings break the stillness. The night continues on as it always has, the slow, steady journey across the ocean. The ship's powerful engines pulse beneath the decks, pushing the Titanic forward with steady strength. The great funnels rise into the night, faintly glowing against the dark sky. The wireless room buzzes softly, operators exchanging routine messages. Ice warnings continue to arrive, but they blend into the background noise of the voyage. No one knows what is coming. No one senses the silent, icy threat waiting just ahead. As the hours stretch on, the world aboard the Titanic is wrapped in cold air, calm waters, and gentle sounds. The ocean seems endless, mysterious, and still, and beneath the peaceful surface, the ship moves steadily toward a fate no one can yet imagine. The collision. Imagine the quiet night, deep and still, wrapped in the cold air and calm ocean. Suddenly, something changes. A subtle vibration beneath your feet, almost too soft to notice. Then, a low, muffled sound. A strange scraping, like metal brushing slowly against metal. The moment stretches out, slow and surreal. Time seems to move differently here. The great ship shudders, gently, as if breathing, then pauses. Passengers, many half asleep in their cabins, stir slightly, Some hear the faint noise. A few blink open their eyes, unsure if it was real or a dream. The halls, usually quiet, hold a strange stillness now. The sound doesn't roar. It is muted, distant, almost like a whisper beneath the hum of the engines and the creak of the ship settling in the cold sea. In the corridors, a few crew members pause, exchanging glances but speaking softly. The ship is alive with unseen movement. Footsteps echo lightly on the polished floors. Doors open and close with gentle creaks. People are waking, but confusion lingers like a fog. No alarms pierce the night. No urgent calls, just the calm, eerie silence after the strange noise. Passengers in their cabins listen intently. Some rise slowly, pulling on slippers and coats. The soft rustle of clothing blends with the quiet. In the hallways, voices murmur quietly. Questions asked in low tones. Crew members move with careful steps, checking on the ship's condition. Their faces calm but alert. Outside, the sea is still. The stars continue to shine coldly above. The ship's great funnels stand dark against the night sky, and the water laps softly against the hull. The ship's engines continue their steady rhythm, pushing Titanic forward through the water. Beneath the surface, the collision has already left its mark, silent, unseen, and slow. Inside the ship, the atmosphere is strangely calm, yet deeply eerie. It is a moment suspended in time. Passengers and crew alike feel something subtle has shifted, though none yet know what. The lights flicker gently, casting long shadows in the corridors. The murmur of voices blends with the steady creak of the ship settling. In the first-class cabins, the rich silence holds a fragile stillness. In third class, families huddle together, sensing a quiet tension in the air. No panic, no rush, just the slow realization that something is not quite right. Footsteps echo faintly as crew members check the bulkheads and compartments. They move with quiet purpose, speaking calmly to one another. Outside, the sea remains calm, the cold night pressing in around the ship like a quiet, invisible force. Time seems to stretch and bend in these moments. The collision, soft, muted, almost unreal, has changed the night forever. The lifeboats. As the night deepens and the cold air grows sharper, a new urgency begins to ripple quietly through the Titanic. The word spreads slowly at first. Lifeboats are being prepared. Yet, beneath the surface of calm, a troubling truth waits to be discovered. The lifeboats are far too few for everyone aboard. This reality sinks in gradually, like a quiet shadow stretching across the ship. Passengers, still clutching their nightclothes or shawls, begin to gather near the decks. The soft murmur of voices rises, mingled with the occasional cry of confusion or fear. Mothers hold their children close, whispering words of comfort even as their own hearts tremble. Fathers stand back, hands clenched but calm, faces set with quiet determination. Goodbyes are said softly, sometimes without words, just lingering glances filled with love and uncertainty. The lifeboats, small and fragile looking against the vastness of the ship, lower slowly into the dark water. The air is thick with a mixture of hope and dread. Passengers climb in, some steadying trembling hands on the wooden rails, others looking back toward the great ship that still looms above them. Confusion weaves through the crowd. Who will be allowed to board? Which lifeboats will be filled first? The rules are unclear, and in the dim light, decisions are made quietly but unevenly. Some are helped aboard quickly, the wealthy and well-connected, those with tickets for first and second class. Others wait, their eyes searching for a chance, for a moment of mercy. Below decks, many in third class struggle to find their way, blocked by locked gates or hesitant crew members unsure how to help. Fear is present, but often silent. It settles in the chest like a cold weight. Many hold on to hope, trusting the ship's size and strength, the belief that rescue will come before any danger grows. Amid the chaos, there are moments of quiet courage. A mother gently hands her child to a stranger, trusting that they will be safe. A father steps back from the lifeboat ladder, encouraging his family to go ahead. Strangers offer their hands to help one another, sharing the fragile hope that the night might still hold safety. The lifeboats lower one by one, rocking softly on the waves. Each carries a small group of souls away from the ship, leaving behind a silence that feels heavy and vast. The contrast between those who board quickly and those left waiting is a quiet reminder of the world's inequalities. The grandeur of first class and the struggles of third class become painfully clear in these moments. Life-saving seats are scarce, and choices, sometimes unfair, are made in the dim light. There is no loud anger here, only a soft, aching reflection on the randomness of fate and fortune. The ship itself seems to hold its breath, as if aware of the lives balanced precariously on its decks. Above, crew members work quietly, calling out instructions with calm voices. Their efforts are steady but strained, trying to manage the crowd and the dwindling lifeboat spaces. The cold night presses in, and the sea below glimmers faintly with moonlight. Each lifeboat drifts slowly away, carrying with it a fragile hope and the heavy weight of those left behind. In this moment, the Titanic is both a refuge and a trap. The decisions made on deck will shape the lives of many, and the quiet fear in the air speaks to the uncertainty of what lies ahead. Into the cold sea. The lifeboats are mostly gone now. The ship, once proud and towering, leans quietly into the ocean. There is no music playing anymore, no footsteps on grand staircases, only the groaning sound of steel under pressure and the low cries of those left behind. And then, the plunge. The water is not just cold, it's something else, something deeper, a cold that doesn't just touch the skin, but cuts straight through it, like 1,000 tiny needles all at once. The kind of cold that steals your breath, makes your chest seize up, makes your mind go blank. It is black, endless, and silent. Some fall in, some jump, others slide down the tilted decks, clinging to railings until there is nothing left to hold. The surface of the Atlantic greets them with a silence that feels impossible. One moment, a ship full of life, light, voices. The next, darkness. Distant lifeboats drifting quietly. People scattered like stars on the surface of a black sea. The ones in the water call out. At first, soft voices, trembling with shock. Some call names, Others whisper prayers. Then silence, not because they are gone, not yet, but because the cold takes something away. The strength to speak, the energy to cry out. The body moves more slowly now, the limbs losing feeling. Even the mind begins to slip, lulled into numbness by the endless cold. The life jackets keep them afloat, but they do not keep them warm. They drift. Men, women, teenagers, children, shoulders hunched, arms curled to their chests. Steam rises from breath, then vanishes. The stars above look down on them, quiet and distant. In the stillness, a few sounds remain. A soft splash here, a quiet sob there. But mostly, there is only the lapping of water and the hum of cold. They wait. Some believe rescue is just minutes away. A ship's light will appear on the horizon. Warm blankets, hot tea and safety. Others simply hope to stay alive long enough for the sun to rise. Mothers rock gently in the waves, arms wrapped around children who no longer stir. Friends drift side by side, eyes glazed, no longer speaking. Strangers hold hands in the dark, never learning each other's names. The ocean does not rage. It does not rise. It only holds them, silent and vast, under the pale moonlight. In the distance, the final cries grow fewer. Voices fade. The great ship is gone now. Only lifeboats remain. Tiny wooden islands floating between the stars and the deep. Some in the boats watch quietly, too stunned to speak. Some reach out into the darkness, pulling in a hand, a face, a body. Others sit in shock, unable to move, just staring at the place where the Titanic once stood. And the sea goes on, cold, quiet, still. Carpathia arrives. The night is nearly over. The stars begin to fade. A pale light rises on the horizon, gentle, cold, and gray. It doesn't bring warmth. Not yet. But it means the long night is ending. And then, a shape, far off, low against the horizon. A ship, the RMS Carpathia. She cuts through the waves with quiet purpose, her funnels breathing steam into the morning sky. She is not fast. She is not built for rescue. But she came, through the dark, through the ice, because someone had to. In the lifeboats, survivors begin to see her outline. At first it feels like another illusion, like a dream half remembered. But then, closer, real, solid, a promise of something beyond the cold. Carpathia slows as it nears the scattered boats. Her crew leans over the sides, calling down to the survivors, lowering ropes and ladders. The voices are gentle, steady, kind. One by one, people are lifted from the sea. Some walk with help. Some must be carried. Their hands are blue with cold, their lips pale, eyes hollow. Many do not speak. Some weep silently. Others simply stare. Blankets are wrapped around shaking shoulders. Hot drinks are offered, though few can hold the cups steady. The deck of the Carpathia becomes a space of stillness, of quiet shock. Survivors sit close together, trying to warm one another. No one asks questions yet. There are no stories. Just silence and breathing. Children curl into the arms of strangers. A man looks out at the sea, searching for a face he'll never find. Two women hold hands without words, not letting go. It is as if the whole ship mourns with them. Even the engines seem to hum more softly now. The Carpathia's crew does what they can. There are doctors, stewards, blankets, broth, but no one knows quite what to say. The passengers of the Titanic have not just left a ship behind, they have left a world behind. Some survivors ask about loved ones. Others ask about the time. Most ask nothing at all. The sun rises slowly, casting pale light across the water. Icebergs shimmer in the distance. The sea looks peaceful again, but the peace feels heavy. All around the survivors, there is kindness. A hand on a shoulder, a cup gently held to cracked lips. A child wrapped in a coat that belongs to someone else. The Carpathia becomes a ship of quiet care, floating on a sea of loss. As the day unfolds, the last lifeboats arrive. Some carry only a few people. Some carry many. One or two arrive nearly empty. Every face is scanned by those already on board, looking, hoping, fearing, and still, the great ship Titanic is nowhere to be seen. She lies far beneath the waves now, hidden in the blackness below. On deck, people gather close. Some pray, some sit alone, heads bowed. The Carpathia's captain walks among them, offering gentle words. His eyes are tired, his voice is low. He knows they carry not just survivors, but the last pieces of a ship that had once promised so much. Above them, the sky is clear. The wind is soft, and for the first time in hours, the sea is quiet, not because of what it holds, but because of what it has taken. The Carpathia turns, slowly, heading back toward New York, toward land, toward waiting crowds who still don't know what has happened. But here, on this small ship, the truth is already known. The Titanic is gone, and those left behind carry her story in silence, wrapped in blankets, sitting together beneath the early morning sky. The world reacts. The news did not arrive all at once. At first, there were whispers, hints, a broken telegram here, a scattered sentence there, messages from ships nearby, half complete, full of static. Something had happened to the Titanic, but no one believed it. Not really. She was the largest ship in the world, new, unsinkable, full of the brightest lights, the wealthiest people, the strongest steel. Nothing could touch her. Not ice, not time, not fate. And so, for a few hours, the world waited in confusion. In the early morning light, telegraph machines clicked endlessly. Operators repeated messages again and again, not trusting their eyes. Was it true? Could it be? The Carpathia had survivors aboard. Yes, that was certain. But what of the Titanic? For many, the truth came too slowly. Newspapers rushed to print, grasping at rumors. Some headlines said she was damaged. Others claimed she was being towed to safety. A few declared everyone was saved. They were wrong. At the ports in New York and Southampton, crowds began to gather. Families stood shoulder to shoulder, waiting for word. Mothers clutching photographs, children holding letters, fathers searching for names on passenger lists. And then, the silence broke. One by one, the stories came in. The Titanic was gone. She had struck an iceberg. She had broken in two. She had taken more than 500 souls into the cold Atlantic. The world stopped in city squares and tiny villages, in mansions and crowded boarding houses. People sat in shock. They read and reread the headlines. They stared at photographs of the ship that now rested beneath the ocean. They looked at names, long lists of the missing, and found the ones they loved. In New York, families stood at the Cunard Pier, where the Carpathia was expected. They waited through the cold wind, hours before she arrived. No one spoke much. Every face held a question. Would their loved one step off that ship or not? When Carpathia finally appeared, slowly approaching the dock, the crowd leaned forward, hoping, dreading, bracing. The ship was dark. No celebration, no flags, just silence. And then the gangways lowered. Survivors stepped onto land in silence, wrapped in blankets, eyes sunken, hands trembling. Some collapsed into waiting arms. Some simply looked around, unsure if they were truly safe. Reporters stood nearby, notebooks in hand. Some wrote in silence. Others couldn't bring themselves to speak at all. Among the crowd were people who would never get answers. No letter, no body, just a name, lost to the sea. Across the world, the shock grew. How could the unsinkable ship have sunk? People had believed in it. They had trusted its name, its design, its promise. Now, that promise was broken. Questions rose quickly. Why weren't there enough lifeboats? Who was warned about the ice? Why weren't all passengers treated equally? In homes, people read the same stories over and over, searching for details, for justice, for sense. But there was only loss. Poems were written, prayers were said, bells rang in churches. In cities and towns, black wreaths hung on doors. The Titanic was gone, but she had left the world changed. Not just because of the lives lost, but because something deeper had broken too. The belief that humanity could control nature. That technology was perfect. That progress made us untouchable. Now all of it felt fragile. Still, in the midst of the grief, there were acts of quiet kindness, money raised for survivors, shelter offered to the lost, strangers opening their doors, hearts and hands to those left with nothing. The Titanic had vanished beneath the sea, but her story had only begun. The sea gave no second chances, but those left behind tried to learn. In the weeks after the Titanic disappeared beneath the Atlantic, governments and experts came together, shocked, ashamed, determined. For too long, luxury had come before safety. Confidence had replaced caution. Now, the cost was clear. The first lesson was the simplest and the most tragic. There had not been enough lifeboats. More than 2,100 people had sailed on the Titanic, but there had only been lifeboats for around half. Some boats had left half empty. Others had struggled to launch. Some passengers had been told to stay calm, stay below, stay back. That could never happen again. New laws followed, not just in Britain, not just in the United States, but around the world. Every ship, no matter how large, would now be required to carry lifeboats for every single person on board, passenger or crew. It would become law, enforced by maritime authorities across oceans and borders. But lifeboats were only part of it. They also looked at ship design. The Titanic had been built with watertight compartments, But the walls between those compartments had not reached high enough. When the iceberg tore through her side, water poured from one section to the next, like filling a row of open boxes. From now on, ships would be designed differently. Stronger hulls, taller bulkheads, double bottoms. Engineers went back to their drawing boards, sketching safety into every line. There were changes in communication, too. On the Titanic, radio messages were handled by a small team, young men who worked long shifts, mostly passing messages for wealthy guests. They had missed some ice warnings that night, not out of carelessness, but because there had been no rule on how to handle emergencies, so new standards were written. From then on, every ship was required to keep a trained radio operator on duty 24 hours a day. Around-the-clock listening, around-the-clock readiness. And there was more. International ice patrols were formed. Their job? To track and report icebergs, keeping ships away from danger. To this day, the U.S. Coast Guard still runs the patrol, and it began because of the Titanic. Inspections became stricter. Crews received more training. Lifeboat drills were made routine, not optional. The sea, once ruled by pride and elegance, now demanded discipline and care. The Titanic had been a warning, and for a while, the world listened. In boardrooms and shipyards, men in suits asked harder questions. How many exits? How many radios? How quickly could a ship turn? Could people reach the deck in time? Safety became a subject no one could ignore. These changes didn't undo the loss. They didn't bring back the dead, but they shaped the future. Other ships that came after were saved by these rules. Fires, storms, even later collisions. Many ended with more lives saved, not because of luck, but because of what the Titanic had taught the world. And still, not all the lessons were written into law. Some were quieter, deeper. People began to ask, who was allowed on the lifeboats? Who got warning first? Who was turned away? They noticed the divisions by class, by gender, by wealth, and for many, that memory stayed. The story of the Titanic was not just about a ship. It was about people, about choices, about what mattered when everything else disappeared. Even today, those lessons echo on cruise ships, in airports, in disaster, plans and safety checks. Much of what we take for granted, the lifeboat stations, the evacuation routes, the emergency drills, can be traced back to that one cold night in April 1912. A ship that should have been the safest, but wasn't. Now, she sleeps beneath the ocean, but the world above remembers. Memory and myth. More than a century has passed, and still, we remember. The Titanic was not the deadliest shipwreck in history. It was not the first. It was not the last. But something about her, something about that cold April night, stays with us. We see her in books, in films, in whispered stories, in museum exhibits and school lessons, in dreams. Why? Because she was supposed to be perfect. She was supposed to be the best of what humanity could build. Graceful, massive, modern, unsinkable. And yet, beneath all of that pride was something very human. Fear, hope, misjudgment, and tragedy. It wasn't just a ship that sank. It was a belief that we were too clever to fail, that progress could protect us from nature, that people could be divided, first class, second, third, and still somehow be equal in the end. But the ocean doesn't recognize class. When the Titanic went down, it didn't care who wore silk and who wore wool. It didn't care who dined on oysters and who shared stew in a small cabin. The water was the same for everyone. Dark, freezing, final. Still, most of the names we remember belong to the wealthy, the famous, the elegant, the ones with portraits and newspaper clippings. But they were not the only ones aboard. There were young mothers from Ireland, carrying babies in their arms. There were workers from Syria and Sweden and China, hoping to begin new lives. There were cooks, stewards, firemen, those who kept the great ship running but never saw the sky. They died quietly, their names rarely spoken, their stories left untold, and yet they mattered just as much. They laughed, they sang, they wrote letters home. Some were only 17. Some had never seen the ocean before. Some had saved for years just to be on that ship, that journey, that chance. They are part of this story too. They were not characters in a film. They were not lines in a book. They were real. And for a few days, they walked the decks of the Titanic, just like everyone else. That is why this story stays with us, because it wasn't just a tragedy. It was a mirror. It showed us who we were, how we lived, what we valued, who we protected, and who we didn't. And perhaps that's why, when we hear the name Titanic, we don't just think of the ship. We imagine being there, walking up the grand staircase, hearing the hum of the engines beneath your feet, smelling the salt air. As the ship cuts through the water, we imagine the music, the laughter, the lights, and then quiet, cold, darkness. We ask ourselves, what would I have done? Would I have panicked, helped others, found a way onto a lifeboat, or stood back? Could I have survived? The truth? You probably wouldn't survive a day on the Titanic. Not because you're weak, but because it wasn't just about strength, or intelligence, or even luck. It was about timing, about class, about chaos, and still, you would remember it forever, because the Titanic wasn't just a ship. It was a moment in time, frozen in ice and memory, and everyone who was aboard, whether they lived or died, became part of something larger, a story that never really ends. Each time we tell it, we see something new, a detail missed, a life forgotten, a truth that still hurts. The Titanic haunts us not because she sank, but because she was real, and she reminds us how fragile we are. Now, drift to sleep, and now the story fades. The ship is gone, resting in the deep. The voices are quiet. The ocean is still. What remains are memories, names, a few scattered items on the seafloor, but also lessons, moments, lives lived, even briefly, with hope. History is strange like that. So much depends on timing, on chance, on choices made in seconds. The Titanic reminds us how delicate life can be, and how strong the human spirit is, even in the darkest hours. But you are here, safe, warm, still. Let the weight of the blankets wrap around you like a lifeboat. Let the soft hum of your breath carry you like calm waves. There's nothing more to do tonight, nowhere to be, no rush, just rest. Close your eyes now. Let the ocean carry you. The story has ended, but your dreams are just beginning. If you found peace in this quiet journey, please like this video. It helps others discover it too. And if you'd like more stories like this, gentle, thoughtful, and made just for rest, subscribe to Boring History for sleep. We'll be here whenever you need to drift away. Good night, and thank you for sailing with us.